Hello and welcome to GPTV on Tuesday the 5th of July. My name is Philip Kingston.
And I'm Gary Peer.
And Gary, just curiously, yesterday, did you do anything to celebrate American Independence Day?
Phil had a wild time. I listened to the Star of Stripes and paid homage to the wonderful sharp leader over there in Joe Biden. Had a wonderful, happy time. Dressed in American colours. What about yourself?
Well, Gary, as much as the viewers will know that I've been a strident critic of Donald Trump, looking at the situation in Europe, he did call out Europe for the lack of involvement of NATO. He did shout out many times to the NATO
defending
countries.
him, are you?
You're
sitting on the fence.
I think the man is loathsome, right?
How's that picket? I think it's making its way through your body there, Phil, as you sit on the fence and say, one time, Donald Trump's terrible, now all of a sudden you like him.
I didn't say I like him, I'm just pointing out, to give the difficulties in Europe, he did call out NATO and the European countries' addiction to Russian gas. He called that. Having said that, I'm glad he's gone, but ultimately he did say some things that are intelligent, masked by all of the craziness around him.
He was very divisive, Phil, but he did know what day it is. And I don't know if Joe Biden has any idea what day it is at all. But having said that, I'm sure he's doing his best and probably past his best. But let's get away from the US and let's get back to Australia.
Well, let's get back to Australia, Gary, where I will just pass on some information about my last cultural week, Gary. I spent one evening at the theatre watching The Portrait of Dorian Gray. And if you haven't seen it, it is stand-out theatre. I couldn't recommend it enough. Absolute must-see.
Did you stay awake the whole time?
I stayed awake the whole thing.
That's fantastic for you.
And then I backed it up a week later where my darling mother and father, my lovely mother and father, took Irene and I to the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra to listen to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony with a choral backup. And as is my want, I like to see I'm getting my money's worth, or at least my father's getting his money's worth. So I'm sitting there in my seat, counting the number of people in the orchestra and the choir.
Do they make a profit or not?
I counted 150 people.
Really? That's a show.
Playing and singing in perfect unison. Really? So, viewers, if you want to understand what teamwork is, go and see a Philharmonic orchestra in conjunction with a choir. It was quite mesmerising.
I've got a similar offer, Phil. You can go and see Skyhooks, the Matthew Flinders Hotel in Chadstone. I'm going to see them. I can't wait to see Skyhooks. And John Paul Young's playing at the Crown.
Isn't everyone from Skyhooks dead?
No, Bongo Star's still going. Shirley was not too healthy, I think, when he put that helicopter into the mountain. But Red Simons is here, and Bongo Star's still here, and Freddie Kabuta-Schnitzler's still here. They're all still here, or I think so. Freddie's here. Maybe you could tell me otherwise, but I think they're all going.
The joy of watching this show, viewers, we can jump from international politics to theatre, to orchestras, to Skyhooks. We're at the Matthew Flinders Hotel.
Matthew Flinders Hotel in Chadstone, Phil, amongst other venues.
Make sure you have a few beers, Gary.
I'm going to. It would be un-Australian not to, Phil. And John Paul Young's playing at Crown. I'm probably going to go and see him as well. Squeak, as they call him. Phil, we are getting off the topic because it is a real estate show, or at least it's supposed to be. And I've thought a bit about a topic to discuss. I've brought this up a few times with you, but I want to talk about neighbours, Phil, because, bureaucrats and lawyers, they love to make rules and laws and disclosure. So if there's something wrong in a house, the onus is on the agent. If something terrible happened in the house, like if there was a murder or something, God forbid, something like that, you're supposed to actually disclose it.
But transparency.
What about if you've got a maniac next door of some sort, And this is something that, the bureaucrats can run away. And the Herald Sun, who picked up our ghost story and watched GPTV, could pick this up as well as a topic.
Pick this up, Herald Sun.
But pay us for it.
What happens when you live
crazy
next
neighbour
to a maniac?
Now could be a axe wielding, crazy, out of control mate. Could be a nymphomaniac trying to seduce, your husband or wife or whatever it could be. Could be any sort of maniac. You don't hear much about nymphomaniacs anymore, do you? It's sort of a concept of the past. Anyway, if it's a maniac living next door, or there's, let's say it's headquarters
or a psychopath,
or Hell's Angels headquarters,
or a hardened criminal,
headquarters,
even a non-hard, even a soft criminal,
even a soft, like a gentle criminal with just a little white collar, maybe, Phil, just a few naughty little things. Wasn't really thinking at the time.
Played around
Good
with
person,
some
made some bad decisions.
If
you're living next door to someone like that, and let's say you're the neighbour, and you're the resident, you're selling your house, and you want to get out because next door, there's some spooky, or it might be scary shadowy things going on. Maybe there's seances, they're summoning the dead, and there's visions. Who knows? But should there be a disclosure about it?
Or what about if you live next door to you,
Yeah.
for example,
Yeah.
where you pay very little respect to anybody in the street, where you play music till late at night,
You know what,
where,
Phil? We
where
are illuminating.
where you have card nights that go till 4 o'clock in the morning, where you're all outside smoking cigars and raucously laughing. Is that part of the story?
We are illuminating the experience of our neighbours. We're bringing life to the street. We're bringing music, energy. No extra charge for that, by the way. In fact, we're about to sell the property behind us. I don't think I'm going to disclose the address, but no, Philip, I think it's an interesting concept. The concept of neighbours. Should there be a disclosure? Is there a disclosure required? Should we be telling people about it if we know? Anyway, let's get some feedback on the ideas@garypeer.com.au email address, Phil, because I like it.
Yep.
What about you? I mean, you lived on the farm. You must have had on the farm, there was the Hatfields and the McCoys. There must have been a neighbour that hated the Kingstons. There must have been. I bet there was. Who was it?
We were always feuding with our neighbours, Gary.
Because you'd be sitting, chewing some straw with your shotgun on the balcony. I remember seeing you there when I used to drive up. Everyone stood up, and then they saw it was me, and they sat down again. But there must have been the sort of Hatfields and McCoys in Cootamundra. There were, Gary, a lot of that kind of thing.
There was nothing that a high-powered rifle couldn't solve.
Yeah, no, it solves all problems, doesn't it? Forget about tablets or mediation. Just get that gun. I've been watching Ozark,
we've been living in our current house, Gary, for 20 odd years.
Yep.
And I'm embarrassed to say we talk to the neighbours on our left-hand side.
Yep.
We don't talk to the neighbours on our right side.
Is that right?
The people across the road are none too fond of us either. So, and we think we just go about our business. We keep a low profile.
But you basically hated. You hated neighbours. That's the truth. The Kingstons are hated. And you're complaining about me. So you need the music.
We don't know why.
Because you're too quiet. You're sinister. You're actually creepily quiet. You need the cigars. You need the music. You need the action. You need the laughter. That's what brings life to it. Now take a tip from the peers. Live large. Live happy. Because God knows we're all going to be dead anyway before you know it.
Apparently that's the way it all ends, Gary.
None of us are getting out of here alive. Anyway, that's enough philosophy and enough about neighbours, but interesting topic. I was talking about Ozark. I'm right into that. Have you finished it?
Finished that, Gary.
How good is it? It's fantastic.
You know what? It took us 2 or 3 times to get into it.
Yep.
Right? First couple of episodes,
all the way.
But ultimately we got hooked. Really good show.
Because you walk out of movies and shows, don't you?
No,
you have. I remember, but you do.
Look, okay, we walked out of some terrible movies.
I've never walked out in a movie in my life. There's never been one that bad.
That's because you never go to anything with any depth, Gary. So, you tend to see things that are just light and whimsical, which is your nature, and good on you for being light and whimsical. That's it. So you never actually go to anything that challenges you.
No, I don't go and see those Korean orphanage films or the movies about
I will not
Iranian
hear a bad
mental health or
about Korean movies.
No,
Gary,
I didn't say there's anything bad. I just said
Parasite. Possibly one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
What is that
That
about?
is universally. Look. I'm going to have a crack at critics now, Gary, because if you saw Parasite and you raved about it, I'm sorry, but you're just buying into the intellectual approach where if an intellectual says it's great, you say it's great, you actually hated it, but you just want to be part of the intelligentsia.
You've got that because you've got an intelligent wife, so you've sort of merged into her. You have intelligent friends. That most of the people who I hang out with, just don't operate at that level, Phil. So, and you were a person in our youth that said, "I want to go and see Arnold Schwarzenegger. I want to see what you used to call smack 'em in the mouth movies, where there was Bruce Willis." And then as you got older, you started to get all this. I don't think it's been better. Gary. I don't think you've improved as a result. I think go back to your core.
I like to be intellectually challenged. Having said that,
Blockbusters. Stick to Blockbusters, I reckon. Blockbuster movies, they're the ones. Who cares about the Academy Awards?
Have you been to see
Elvis?
No, not Elvis. The Top Gun
Maverick. Bloody oath.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was actually really good. But you've got to see the first one before you see the second one again to refresh yourself.
Because it's so actually really good. The story is so complex.
You don't want to move any of those. You don't want to lose those nuances and those special parts of the story, Phil, that connect so beautifully.
Speaking of Top Gun, we'll just do the segue and bring this show back to real estate. Speaking of Top Gun, Gary Peer and Associates were the Top Guns of the real estate industry across the weekend, Phil, because the industry,
get the towers
naughty industry, sold 55%. Gary Peer and Associates, 88%.
Get the towers up.
7 out of 8.
Boast time. We love a bit of boast time, don't we, Phil?
We do, Gary.
Yeah.
Now,
anyway.
I've got to tell you, the question is, do we take off next year the entire month of July? Because July is looking
quiet, isn't it?
pretty quiet.
It's a quiet month, but it's still a month where what is happening is good, if that makes sense.
Well,
so there's not, the volume's not there, Phil, but there's still activity. If you're a seller, you get centre stage. You know, you get to do the show when there's not that many other, and the buyers are still here. So
Gary, if you came to the auction at 101 at
102.
101 at 102
yep.
Balaclava Road on Sunday, you would say there was nothing quiet about that auction because we held the auction in the apartment. Good 60 odd people in that apartment. I was quite surprised how many people were there. And we had not one bidder, not two bidders, but 3 people bidding for that apartment, Gary. And congratulations to the vendors who have now moved on. Congratulations to the buyers who had been looking for quite some time, and I think that their journey finished with them buying a fabulous apartment.
By the way, Phil, last week there was some very solid defence for the horse I have a share in Lakes Folly from Tanya, who wrote in and said, and actually, because you said, oh, the horse won $600, then we started laughing hard, and Tanya pulled us up. Tanya was a fact checker.
Yeah.
She said no, it won $2,850 by coming fourth last Saturday, and it's actually won $226,000, which it has won throughout his
I'd
career.
like to just have a shout.
It says he is a beauty.
I'd like to just shout out to Tanya.
Yeah. Tanya loves the horses.
You need to have a good, long, hard look at your life,
Tanya. You're my
that
sort of gal,
you
Tanya.
are able to watch this show and fact check. If that's what's going on in your life,
tell you guys to get it right, Phil. She's got a great life. She watches GPTV. She follows the horses. She's my kind of girl. Tanya, I'm with you all the way. And by the way,
shout out to Tanya.
It came fourth again on. There's a horse come fourth 3 times. It just runs well enough to back it every time, but not well enough to give you a place dividend.
Well,
Phil.
no doubt Tanya will send us in the information about what needs to be rejigged with this horse. Maybe a change of vitamins,
the blinkers. Maybe they put something in the mouth.
I do thank Tanya for watching the show so closely and for fact checking this show.
Yes, exactly right.
Gary,
Phil, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move
what
on.
Else
indeed.
is happening?
Look, we sold. That was probably the most exciting auction. It was the one in Balaclava Way, 101 at 102, and unfortunately the price is undisclosed, but it went well above the range, didn't it, Phil, and above expectations. We also had an auction at 304 126 Brighton Road, but it happened before the auction, Phil, and sometimes you will say at an auction, when you know, in those rare times you pass something in, you say, we're not going to have an auction after the auction, but you often do have an auction after the auction, even though you say you're not going to. Well, this was an auction before the auction, 3 bidders, Philip, and sold for an undisclosed amount, but suffice to say the range was in the low to mid sixes, and it sold for beyond that. Phil, we also sold a property 1 at 89 Newham Road, Glenhuntly. Well done to Leo Samuel. He's had a cracker weekend, and the Carnegie office has been flying, as you know, Philip. Sold for $752,000, and Butte Street, which is a Butte, up on the screen now, sold for $1,030,000. And Dorgan Street was a Viv Samuel sale, Philip, and that sold for $720,000. So a good weekend of auctions, 88% clearance. Nothing wrong with that, but quiet, volume down.
Viewers,
and cold.
If you think about it,
damn cold.
Busy weekend for us is when we have somewhere between 20 and 30 auctions.
It is.
So to have 8 auctions really just shows you that July is a very quiet month in Melbourne real estate. We've got school holidays, we've got the depth of winter, but I think it is a bit quieter than it has been in past years.
It is, Phil, but as you know, when you're a seller, it's always about the competition, and when there's less competition, you do have or can have an edge, and that's what we're seeing out there too.
Interesting, one of the things that we are seeing out there, Gary, is yes, the heat's come out of the market, and there have been some drops in real estate prices.
There has been.
But let's keep this in context, viewers. A drop of anywhere from 5 to 15% is a normal market correction, particularly given how hard the market has risen and how strong it's been over the last 18 months. All property booms are finished with a market contraction before it levels out, before it goes again. So I genuinely think that the prices that are out there at the moment represent buying opportunities, Gary.
I reckon so too. I think there's some good buys and good opportunities out there. If I was a buyer out now, I'd jump in. The interest rates are still low. Hey, Phil, we did sell the property on Malvern Road. Well done to David Thompson and Dan Dyson, who worked at that for quite a while. We've reviewed that apartment a few times on GPTV, and people might say, what happens to those places you talk about? They get passed in, they get sold pretty quickly. So well done to the vendor who's over there now in Perth, Phil, has left our shores. Congratulations to the vendor, and well done to the buyer, and well done to the agents that sold that apartment in Malvern Road. All the details, of course, are here. We're in the apartment now. I like when we talk about something, all of a sudden we're in it. And kind of the atmosphere changes, you know, because someone left the window open, or Anyway, I'm rambling on. Phil, let's talk about this weekend's auctions because there aren't many, are there? There's only really 7. Before that, there's a couple of other properties I want to... Oh, no, we'll do it afterwards. We'll stay in order, Phil. And we'll talk about Odessa Street, which is at 10:30 this weekend. That's number 19 Odessa Street, St Kilda.
First of all, Odessa Street is an incredible location. Secondly, this is a fabulous house with so many possibilities. Firstly, it's a very large home, Gary, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, plenty of off-street car parking. But Odessa Street's a bit of a favourite location of mine. I love to be part of the action and yet to be able to go home to a nice quiet address.
Indeed. I don't think you've got any auctions this weekend. I think, what are we going to do?
No,
I mean, we complain about our busy weekends, but then it gets down to it and we go, oh, there's really nothing happening, is it?
No, I've got auctions on the weekend, Gary.
What do you got? On Sunday you do, but not Saturday. Saturday you got nothing to do at all.
I'll take Saturday off. Might go and go to the Pran market, I think, and buy some
cheese.
Lovely fruit and vegetables.
And some cheese, Phil. You don't eat cheese?
No, try not to.
I love a bit of cheese. 104 at 7 towards Street, Murrumbina is heading toward auction 11:30 a.m. On a Saturday
Gary,
morning.
2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 car space. That's a beautiful apartment in a really good building.
8 at 332 Dandenong Road, Phillip, is at 1:30 p.m. Jeremy Rosen's second auction
A
today.
really good size apartment, this, Gary, with 2 really good bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1 car space.
And bada bim, bada boom, that's the end of Saturday, Phil. But we get to Sunday, 4 auctions, and you're doing a couple. So starting off at 10:30, I'm going to come and join you, Philip, but because I don't know what to do with myself. 2 at 4 Flower Street, Caulfield South.
Gary, that is a fabulous home. That is 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, double lock-up garage, and Flower Street is a fantastic location.
Got to say, I'm a little bit in love with this next property, Philip. 1 to 6 at 331 Inkerman Street, St Kilda East. Do they get any better than this?
Gary, this is the most extraordinary apartment building directly opposite the park. You've got Balaclava, you've got Carlisle Street on your doorstep. You've got the tram, you've got the train, you've got the park, you've got the cafes, and you've got the gorgeous architecture of this kind of Tudor English-style building. It's just a fabulous block.
And as Glenn Bricker would say, I can't believe it, because this property at number 8 Saturn Street is a property that you can't believe because it's such a good one, Phil.
4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, plenty of off-street car parking, lots of land there, Gary, an immaculate family home, ready to move straight into, and that part of South Caulfield just goes from strength to strength.
And Philip, this has been a very popular property, and we're looking forward to the auction. It's 131 Holroyd Avenue, St Kilda East, which brings down the curtain on a quiet weekend at 2:30 on Sunday.
Gary, this is an extra large apartment because it's 2 bedrooms, fabulous bathroom network, but a kitchen, a dining room and a living room. And that's in a position that we love.
Sure is. Got a couple of properties to review before we go, Philip. We've got one on Inkerman Road. I know Darren and the team have been excited about this property. Tell us a little about it.
Gary, massive 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom apartment in a very small building of only 3 apartments.
And the lovely Lamore Herskovitz reckons this house on Glenora Road is one that is a showstopper, Philip. You should come and have a look at it.
Well, it is, Gary, and we love that part of Caulfield. This is 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, plenty of off-street car parking. One of these great 50s/60s houses that has been improved, that you can move straight into, get on with life, not spend a cent.
That's a big wrap on GPTV, Philip. It's a short version today because sometimes, Lord knows, we just ramble and ramble. But today we've kind of got to the point eventually anyway. It is a bit cold, although the sun's out. Hey, how would you be in New South Wales right now? How wet would you be?
Oh, Gary,
unbelievable. A few Gary Pure umbrellas going up there.
I don't think we'll make any jokes about the floods in New South Wales and
joking about
Queensland
the flood.
because those poor people, I can't imagine what it must be like to come home to your home where it's been underwater.
They're horrible.
Where everything is just completely ruined, and if not the house is ruined, but it just must be completely tragic.
Well, our hearts go out to those that are underwater. It's been very, very wet, and it hasn't stopped raining in Sydney for like 6 or 8 months. So you're right, it's beyond a joke now. It's become very serious. Look, that is a big wrap on this week's edition, this July edition of GPTV. It's winter. We're lucky the sun is shining, Phil, where, often it isn't. And the real estate market is rolling on.
Words of wisdom. Often the sun's not shining.
No, in
pretty much from about
in July.
6 o'clock in the evening till 6 o'clock the following morning.
Yeah, that's right.
But such an incredibly astute wrap of GPTV. Thanks for watching. I'm Philip Kingston. Have a great week.
I'm Gary Pearce. See you next time on GPTV.